being an entrepreneur sounds cool, but the reality of building a business is very, very difficult. Every level that you hit, there's a lot of things that suck that you just won't want to do. What you're capable of is on the other side. I don't feel like it.
And if you're committed to what it is that you're trying to do, nothing is going to stop you from getting there.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Business Owners with myself, Trevor Cowley. Today we have an incredible guest, Jacob Lawson. Me and Jacob connected through a guy that I met at the gym.
Really? That's
super random. Yeah, I met him at the gym. He's like, dude, I got to introduce you to this guy. He's exactly like you. He's like over the top. He's, all this stuff, the energy and the way that he lives his life and the principles and his discipline and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, yeah. I've heard that before, and then he did the introduction. We had a great conversation when we first chatted. And I mean, shit, that was probably a year ago, at least, when we had more than that. Yeah. And so we've just kind of stayed connected a little bit on and off over the last year and a half. And then finally, here we are. In a podcast together, ran a half marathon this morning together. That was fun. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
I say that like fun. Like, yes.
It was
Are you
awesome.
co-signing on that? Yeah. What was so awesome about it? It's 13 grueling miles, bro.
It wasn't that grueling. It's more grueling when you got to do it by yourself, as you should know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But to do it with somebody like yourself, and we get here to have all these cool conversations about life and business.
Yeah, it's a special, for me, it's like a sacred couple hours when you're able to share, one, you exerting energy and effort with another person, and then two, just the conversations that you get to have with another person, understanding them better. Because when you're out there enduring something like that together, I mean, whether you like it or not, you're going to bond with whoever you're going through some discomfort with. Like, nobody could ever take that away from us. That was a moment that we shared. We'll share forever and have this memory of you flying into town and being up 6 a.m. and going to get after it by 6:55 or something like that. So I pushed him a little bit on that last mile. There was a lot of heavy breathing going on there.
I was hurting.
I was seeing what you could do. I was testing you.
I didn't have it. It wasn't enough to stop, but I didn't have enough to keep going, to keep up.
Sounded like death was chasing me.
It was hard.
Yeah. There was plenty of air out there, but he was acting like there wasn't much. So
it got loud, right? I told you about that grind.
I think when I looked down, we were when I was announcing how fast we were going, it was like 650, then 640. I think it was about a 630 pace. That's about where it started fading back a little bit. Well, we held I think on average like 720, 730 pace on that last mile, which is hard to do after doing 12.
Yeah, no, it was feeling great until then, and then you hit that gas, and it was I didn't have as much
temporary. Gas. That's why I said we only got 8 minutes left. Did you hear me say that?
Yeah.
4 minutes left, because I'm like, bro, if you give people an ending, they can endure as long as they know the end is near.
Yeah.
So usually when I'm out running, I'm like, give me 2 more minutes. Give me 4 more minutes. Give me 8 more, depending on how far we are or what we're doing.
That's why you were like, you want to stop? I'm like, no, I don't want to stop, but I'm going to, I'm going to keep going as far as I can.
Take my hat off to you, because sounded like you wanted to stop, so that's why I stopped for a second. And he cruised right by me, so it was definitely a fun morning. But I'm excited to get into the podcast and get into your story a little bit. You've read my book. We haven't jammed a ton on your backstory and all of the stuff that you've experienced, but you've alluded to that we share a lot of similarities in terms of our backstories. Where would you say that some of those similarities start? Is it the way that you were raised in terms of, growing up maybe poor or with less than, or was it drugs and alcohol? Well, what are some of the things that were similar when you heard my story or read my story in correlation with yours?
I would say one of the similars that starts is how we grew up. I wasn't by any means poor, but we were what we thought was middle class, what we call, it ain't the same middle class anymore, right?
Yeah.
That middle class of the 80s is different right now, right?
Middle class, middle's now really low. Yeah.
Yeah, or middle's doing well, right? There's
I guess
plenty
it just
of doing
depends
well.
on what you call middle.
Yeah, I mean,
It seems like the gap is growing though. There's less in the middle, there's more at the bottom, and there's more I think at the top too. I think that the middle is starting to get sparsed out a little bit, where it's like you kind of have to make a decision whether you're going to go all in or not. Because if you don't go all in and it's like back in the day, the normal 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week, you could pay for a house.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You could take care of a family 40, 50, 60 years ago on a one income family. If there's only one person working and you're trying to raise a family on some of the same wages as back in the day, it's just absolutely impossible. Yeah. I mean, I read something just the other day that said $52,000 10 years ago is almost equivalent to making $100,000 now. So like 10 years later, to live the same lifestyle, you would pretty much have to double your income, right? So what that tells me is that middle class is really, really getting squeezed. They have only two options: either expand themselves in terms of the skills that they have, expand their mindset. They have to change them for the better, or if they keep showing up as they always have, since you're swimming up the stream, in other words, inflation, costs of goods, all these things that are going to happen. But if you stay in the middle, showing up as you always have, those middle things that used to be affordable are becoming less and less affordable. So it's starting to push that middle down towards the bottom. I mean, that's my perspective anyways. So I think that the middle is getting wiped out.
I agree. You know, I believe at that time at 50 grand was the middle class, right? But if you were making 100 grand, it felt like you were rich.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 10 grand a month. That's all you need to make.
You'll crushing
You'll
it,
be on
know?
the Life of the Rich and Famous on VH1 with whatever that UK guy's name is, narrating.
Crushing it.
Yeah.
You know?
So you think anyways, until you get there.
Until you get there, you know? So, you know, we had that. We had gifts at Christmas, gifts at birthdays.
Yeah.
There wasn't any money any other time in between that.
Yeah.
So Mom was like, if you want money, you go out and make it.
Yeah.
You know, since a teenager.
Yeah.
So that's when I learned to hustle.
Yeah.
So got that. And then kind of similarities as well and getting into that party lifestyle, you know, in the 18s and 20s and 22s, right? So going through that whole little stage of wilding out. And then luckily, like I said, I was blessed enough to not go as far as a lot of friends and associates.
Stayed Fridays and Saturdays is what we were talking about this morning on the run. It didn't leak into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know.
Yeah, maybe an occasional mid Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
We'd call that going to church.
Yeah,
you know?
just get rid of the hangover, a little sipper or something just to, you know, get through the day. But
less sipping at those times, you know. There's more other things,
shooting,
but you know.
Yeah. Getting to the point as quick as possible.
Yeah. So, you know, that, and then, you know, just going through business, going through life changes, going through partner lessons and things like that.
What was the first business that you had? Was it the flooring company that you have now, or?
I call that my first major business.
Yeah.
You know, I had a record label was my first business.
Of course,
in
bro.
Early 20s, right?
Going down that path. Sell drugs or make music, or, you know, it's just kind of the vibe back then when you're partying. You're like, it sounds like a good idea.
I grew up in New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
So I was heavily influenced by the big timers at that time, you know. So I always loved flashy things. I do think that that's one of our, if there's anything that we have is a difference in that, whereas you're a lot more reserved and will refine and store away. And me, I've always worked hard to achieve the things I wanted, whether it be the flashy things or whatever, put myself in some tight positions as we talked about before, but back against the wall, what I got to do, just grind.
Yeah.
Grinding is what I do. It's what I'm good at doing.
Well, I know a guy that had made millions of dollars, lost it, made millions of dollars and lost it. And even though in the second go around, you know, we're like, bruh, you didn't learn your lesson?
Yeah.
Like Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis and this 15,000 square foot house, like, back to it, huh?
Right.
And he flat out said, he goes, bro, if I don't have a massive lifestyle, I'm not motivated.
I don't have a drive.
He's like, dude, I already know myself well enough. Like, if I don't go out there and I don't spend it and I don't live like this, I don't really care to keep showing up.
Yeah.
And so like I'm not saying that that's the right path for everybody. Obviously understanding who you are, it's failed him twice. You know what I mean? But there's a difference between enjoying some fruits of your labor versus throwing the whole fucking, all the fruit, out. Like at least have a couple.
There's risk tolerances, right?
Yeah.
So I don't do it ridiculously,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I've got some things stored away. I've got investments, right? So I don't do it ridiculously, but I've always worked hard to get the things that I wanted, right?
What does that mean? Things that you wanted, like nicer cars, or
I mean, as a kid, the first thing was a damn Redline Chrome bicycle, right? It was the first thing I had to go work for, right? Saving $300 at 10 years old, right? That's a lot of money, right? To get that bike, that shiny bike, And then I got into my teenagers and early 20s, and it was Suburbans with 20-inch rims on it, or sound systems, right? Things like that. Started with the car was the house at that time, right?
Yeah.
And then, I always like nice cars, and then just, you elevate, you get a level, right? And then kind of marinate in that level, and then you start turning it up, growing to new levels, and then new levels turn into new expenses, new lifestyles, right? So I've always had that. Like I said, never ridiculously out of control, never out of control in any proportion to me, but always pushing it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, some people will store like, hey, what you can buy cash, I got to use credit for, right? That's just call that in different stages, right? Because you squirreled, you saved that in different ways and reserve. Like, no, I don't need that, right?
Yeah.
Or that's not what drives you to do.
Not at all. Yeah. And I think that's important, because it's, I don't care for material things. I don't care for big houses. I don't care about all that, growing up extremely poor with a ton of uncertainty, if the lights are going to get shut off, or if we're even going to have food, and, are we going to be able to even stay here? Are we going to get evicted? People donating food, or we had to go to the church for food, all these things. Is so much uncertainty that it was just like, dude, when I get older, I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to create a lot of certainty for me and my family. That certainty means far more than me than material things. It doesn't mean that I don't think that material things are cool. I think some things are cool, but they all fade.
That certainty and security gives you that thing that you didn't have as a kid.
It gave me what I didn't have as a kid, and it gives my kids something that I didn't necessarily have as a kid. And at the exact same time, that safety and security also gives me the ability to take more risks than other people. Because now if I go spend $250,000 on an investment and lose it, I don't have to worry about nothing.
Nothing changes.
I'm not investing anything that I'm not willing to lose. Yeah. And I'm not going to put my lifestyle up against, the risk factor. So my kid's house, it's their house, like the car is a car. It gets me back and forth to work. Like, a lot of people say, yeah, I bought the car and it was exciting, and then 6 months later, it's just now another car. It's just a matter of your brain being able to, it's just neuroassociation, right? Like when you walk out on day one to go see that new car in your driveway, your brain didn't predict it to be there. It forgot that you bought it yesterday, so there's still excitement. But the moment that your brain predicts that car sitting there, it starts to lose excitement. The further that you go down the path, so 2 years later, your brain's predicted it for 2 years now. Now it's just whatever. It's just a car. Now people will start griping, oh man, the maintenance on this thing. It's $2,500 for this on some expensive luxury, supercar or whatever. And they're like, dude, it's more of a pain in the ass to maintain it any more than it is that it gives me a feeling of accomplishment, because that a feeling of accomplishment fades no matter what we do. That's why we want to accomplish more things. That's why we want to go to the next level, right? And so, like, I think I've done a pretty good job of trying to find. I think we talked about it this morning. The reward is the suffering. It is the work. It is the process. Becoming is the most. Like I was messaging with somebody just the other day or whatever, and I was like, dude, it's really special to feel progress in real time. Like when you're pushing yourself to the extreme, and then a couple months ago you were running at this, and then now you're at this pace. It's like I'm in the experience of progress at all times. And I'm like, to me, that is special. That's the reward. That's why I do it. You know, I'm not getting paid to do it. I'm not benefiting from it outside of the fact that I, one, want to see if I can do it. Two, I want to make sure that people understand that anybody can do anything provided the amount of discomfort that you're willing to go through. I think that people get so caught up on the material thing or on the reward that the process can become frustrating because they're not getting the exchange that they hope for. It's an improper expectation of I should receive for this amount of exchange or outlay or energy or effort, when in reality it's so delayed that if you're measuring things all the time on what you get and some material thing or some reward, you're losing what's really special, which is you're in the process and you're being molded. You're becoming better. That's really what you're going to look back when you're 60, 70, or 80 years old and be like, man, those were the good old days. Those were the times of my life when you felt the most stress, the most pressure, the most defeated in some cases, but you didn't quit and you kept showing up. And now you look back on that extreme low as a pivotal moment and a fond memory. That's what made me. And so it's like, I want to stay in the pressure cooker as long as I possibly can, because I really know that that's the goal. That's where the self-worth, the self-respect, the feeling of pride and accomplishment. That's what I want to feel in terms of accomplishment. Now, some people, they grew up with the Cars magazine stuff pinned on their walls, and they grew up in that environment where they're like, man, I want that Lamborghini. I want this, I want that. And it's like a big driving force. And if that's a driving force, there's no problem connecting to that. It doesn't connect for me.
Yeah.
But there's other me's out there that won't necessarily connect to that, and they feel lost in the process. Like, what am I even doing it for? You're doing it for the process and for who you're becoming, right? And then there's other people, if you're motivated by things, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, if that's how you're wired, understand yourself and how you're wired and reward yourself appropriately through the process. Don't overindulge or over-reward with the work that you put in and you're trying to stretch and reach a result that maybe you don't deserve yet. You might be able to get approved.
Yeah.
Doesn't
mean you was ready.
Yeah, that don't mean you were ready, Some people are like, oh, they said I could afford this house. It's like,
and you listened?
Yeah. They make more the bigger the loan is on those houses. And so be very wary of what you get approved for versus, rewarding yourself in a manner that's more appropriate for where you're at, so.
You said it like, hey, I'm not getting paid for this. Maybe you're not getting paid for, what you're doing, especially setting a record and all, right?
Yeah.
Those are invisible and intangibles.
Yeah.
You can't attach a dollar figure to it, but you have no idea what you're going to end up getting paid for because of the person you're changing into.
That's it.
That's
why the process, that's the gold. It's like constantly morphing, like wondering what else is on the other side. How much more do you have left in terms of your capacity and your capabilities? The more that I explore what I'm capable of, the more I appreciate my capabilities. People that don't explore what they're capable of, they're ungrateful people. You're just sitting around, life is really beating me down. I'm struggling. I can't catch a break. And it's like that's this version of you can't catch a break. The way you operate is putting you in a situation where you can't catch a break. But if you honored what you're currently capable of, then you're going to find things that you are capable of that you couldn't even comprehend before. Then it makes you start to wonder, what else am I capable of that I can't even comprehend at this version of myself? And then you want to keep pushing that because it's now it's just a level of curiosity, if I'm being for real. Like, you're telling me that I was capable of this the whole time. I was just unwilling. I could have done this 10 years ago. But because the unwillingness factor to go through discomfort, the exchange is worth it, or else I wouldn't keep showing back up the next day and the next day and the next day. I don't need to know that there's going to be a monetary gain, or maybe there will be one day. Maybe I'll tell my story and people will want to hear it and pay me for it. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
I did everything in my life for so many years that revolved around money and in exchange for money that I got so sick of it that I was like, you know what? I want to do something that's just for me, that I'm not getting paid to do, that's at an extreme level, that this is a deposit into yourself. It's not like, hey, look what I got to show for it. I got an extra $100,000 or I'm another $1 million. Like those things stopped exciting me. And the excitement and the curiosity that I have in terms of what am I truly capable of, that's an itch that I want to scratch, bro. You know?
Man, you said so many gems right there and just so many things to unbottle, you know, like appreciating yourself. This is not me yet. This is, you know, I'm not that person yet.
Yeah.
Right. And then having gratitude once you start appreciating yourself and growing into and pushing those levels. And then, you know, also when you talked about, you know, like, all right, hey, you got the Lambo, but now what? There's so many people out there that think their life is going to be perfect once I get here.
Oh, yeah.
Once I get this, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And I'm just so blessed in my life that I'm never satisfied. I know I'm going to continue to push myself into that next version, that better version. What can I do? What can I do? Like the right step forward, right? But I appreciate the day right here and now. I appreciate exactly where I am. You know.
Do you think that that's because you've experienced a financial reward now to where it can calm you in the sense of where you're at financially, to where you can appreciate the process more now and just trust the process more because you have the data or the history that says, well, when I put in work, good things happen. If I keep putting in work, I continue to expand myself and good things. Like, is there a sense of comfort now that you've done it for an extended period of time and you've seen the progress, that you trust the process a little bit more? Is it the financial gain to where you're not as stressed financially as a new business owner trying to make ends meet, that can help you increase your perspective to a point of appreciation? Because most people, when they're fighting the fight and they're trying to build and they're also struggling financially, there's very little appreciation for what it is that they're going through.
It hurts.
And they don't give a fuck about what we're saying right now.
Yeah.
They still want to get theirs, and they don't give a fuck about appreciating it. I've got bills to pay type situation. And I know that was the further that I elevate and the more that I become, the more money that I make, the more appreciation that I have for the process. It's only continued to grow with time and history and data. Like back in the day, something that might have felt like it was there to take you out. Nowadays, you're probably like, okay, how's this going to benefit me? It's a whole new perspective because it's a whole new you, right? But it's not like you couldn't have done that back here, but what stopped you from doing that back there? Maybe the financial strain and the pressure of building didn't allow you to appreciate it because you had that pressure of having to provide. I don't know. You know, I'm not saying that I understand or know all the answers. I know for me, what I've experienced, I'm not saying that that's going to be true for 100% of people, but I believe it would be based upon my own life experiences. I've seen it happen, and I've seen my appreciation only grow with continued success or continued expansion of self, right? So I was just wondering if you've had that appreciation the whole time, or if you've grown into that appreciation through the work that you've done on yourself, because you do invest into yourself, you know, reading, you wrote your book, you know, you invest in information, masterminds, groups, you know, you do all that stuff. So is it all that stuff, or have you always had a mind of appreciation?
I would say there's levels of it, right? So I've always been a grinder, always kind of excelling. I've definitely had levels of plateaus in my business, for sure, right? Stagnation, and you think you're doing good, right? Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you get stuck in, you know, I can think of the company when we were at 2 million and I was doing 500 here and 700 here and 800 here with a different divisions, and just thinking like, oh man, you're at the top of the world, yeah. You know, and really you start,
you built an empire,
yeah,
you know, and it's like, I guess to the old me, that would have
The old me, it
was an empire.
You know, until you change those perspectives and you start seeing those other things that you're capable of and the things that you have potential of. And like we talked about earlier, it's like perspective. Like, oh, I'm super busy. Compared to who?
Yeah.
You know, compared to, the guy
Elon Musk?
That's exactly, yeah.
you know, or you
guy
compared to
under
the homeless
desk.
guy.
Yeah. You know, so it's all perspective, right? One of the things that that has changed, and yeah, I guess you could say that some of those things have changed in my life during this time. But when I hit what I call this stage now of personal development again, right? I've had spurts of personal development, and I've had spurts where I just did life,
fucked off,
right?
Yeah.
Did life. I always worked hard, right? But it was just status quo.
Yeah.
And then 3 to 4 years ago, and I started really tuning into professional development again. It really hit me during COVID, right? I had a little extra time on my hands and started stumbling onto some things, and it really kind of kicked me back in. And honestly, it was a dangerous time in COVID. I could have lost everything. And I was in that position, and I knew that, all right, well, me and my wife started a restaurant venture and sunk a lot of money into it. And 3 months later, COVID happened, right? So I was fighting through that, and we were also doing houses at the time, and we were crushing it on houses, buying and flipping houses, or buying vacant land, building houses, and making a good little chunk on each one. And right as COVID happened, material prices tripled, labor tripled. So all of a sudden, I had Margins. 3 or 4 houses going on, and it went to like no money, right? At the same time, I started battling this, right? So it got hairy. And I knew that, all right, Jake, this version of yourself cannot pull you out of all of this mess that you've put yourself in, or the world's got you in right now. So you need to elevate, right? And so that's when I started digging back into personal development and really, I'm probably 38, 39 at the time, and really start kicking that into gear. And, this thing, gratitude, man, it's such of a key or cliche word right now. Everybody, but I tell you what, I forget which mentor I was listening to. It's like, you need to have daily gratitude. And I started practicing that. And I'm not going to say that because I started daily gratitude that everything changed and everything got right, but it helped me grab a different perspective in life. And I set a gratitude alarm for 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and that alarm has never changed. It's a really cool moment, and plenty of times in the beginning, you'd be like, oh, it goes off, and you just click the button, right? Take it off.
I'm busy.
Yeah. And then I was like, no, you're missing the point. Like, you got 5 seconds, 2 seconds, 20 seconds to stop and have some real gratitude for all of the beautiful things you got going on in your life. Even if everything's on fire at the moment, you got a lot of things that you could be grateful for. And I changed that. And I tell you what, I've gotten so many people that are involved in my life, when they see that happen, like, I don't even hide it. I'm saying, hey, it's 12 o'clock gratitude. What are you gracious about, right? And these are people that sometimes they barely met me. And I'm like, what is this dude doing, right?
Yeah.
And I used to hide that. Now I share it with people. And because it is a powerful thing in my life. And, I deal with a lot of people, and, like, I got this one guy, he's came from crazy money. They own half the city in New Orleans. And he's like, oh, when I hit 100 million, I'm done. And I know this guy, and I go, maybe almost better than he knows himself right now. And I'm like, dude, you're going to be empty if you think you're done at 100 million. Like, this is not why you drive the way you drive, right? So he's got that goal, that dangling goal. And I know this guy, he's going to be a wreck if he don't have projects to do, things to do. Like, he's going to drive himself
built a
nuts.
certain way to be able to get to that point, and then not to honor the way that you are.
So I sat there and told him, and this guy's on, money level. He's so much higher than me. But I'm like, look, bro, like, you got to enjoy this ride. Like, you got to enjoy the things that you're doing now. You got to enjoy your kids while they're still young. You still got to hustle, still got to do all your things. But don't just think that the star hits when you ding that bell, and then now your life's going to be amazing, and you're just going to shut down, and you're going to be fulfilled. I said, I know you. You're not going to be fulfilled.
You go to bed that night, and you're going to wake up the next morning.
Now what?
Yeah.
You know, so
the previous podcast, you're still left with you. And if you're dissatisfied with 80 million, you're probably going to be dissatisfied with 100 million. You're an individual that has to live with dissatisfaction. High achievers live with dissatisfaction constantly. It's okay to be proud of yourself and to have accomplishments, but those that are really striving for something more, that are really, really stretching themselves, that's just for that day. Those that really aren't striving to stretch themselves or for more, they're still proud of an accomplishment that they did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They're hanging their hat on something that was positive in the past, but they're not creating new,
shining trophies of the past.
Yeah, exactly. Let them fucking collect dust, bro. Put new ones in front of those motherfuckers.
What's
you know what I mean?
What's the next one?
Like that's really what it's about. And so it's like, like winning at a high level and living a life in a manner in which some would say extreme or crazy. Those are just daily deposits for people so that they could even live with themselves, because they found something, a way of life, a way to live that makes them feel better. And if they don't live in that manner, then they have to live with themselves, which is a worse thing to live with yourself not doing than living with yourself of some of the stresses and the problems that doing will create. Yeah. Either way, there's going to be a hell. There's going to be a price to pay. The question is are you getting yardage out of it? Are you making progress? It's as simple as that.
The price to pay. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, right? Going through building your business, grinding your business. We got a lot of business owners, right? That's your podcast, right? Everybody knows the struggle that you go through, and if you're consistently growing, you're consistently hitting those new struggles. And I would always say, like, the times where it was the most stressful, I can deal with a lot of problems. When the money runs out is when the stress really happens, right?
Skyrockets.
Yeah, it's like I could deal with 100 problems. I got money in the bank. The money's gone. Those 100 problems are a different level of stress.
Yeah.
Right? So I went through that cycle so many times, always growing. Like, we're always growing, right? And always investing. And
which puts you in a pinch, because it's more money going out. I know many business owners that are like, dude, I feel like it's just money's always going out. And I'm like, when am I going to be able to pay myself? I always have a next hire or a next move. And I'm like, bro, I promise. Just you're on the right path. Like, take it from somebody a little further down the road. You're doing what you should be doing. And I know it's hard to keep doing that when you want to stop for a second and hurry and reward yourself and then try to get to growth phase again. Eventually your business gets so big where you can make the investments into growth and be making money.
And still make it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what point this hit, but quite a few years ago. Now I've hit those levels in previous times recently, and I'll get excited. And I'll tell some people that are close enough that I can tell the situation to, and they're like, "Well, how the hell are you excited?" Because I know I'm about to break the next level. If I'm this strapped or if I'm this stressed, anytime I get to this level of stress or this level of strapped, I know I'm about to break that next level. It's always been a level change for me.
Yeah.
When I hit that level of strappedness.
Well, I just believe that everything evens itself out. And I've said this before. There's boy, girl, there's up, down, there's left, right, there's black, there's white, there's, hot, cold, north, south, east, west. Like, there's always something there on the other side of it, right? Boy, then there's a girl, right? There's always something to level it out. So if you're dealing with extreme stress, extreme frustration, you want to quit and give up, when that pendulum finally swings and evens itself out, there's the reward.
Yeah.
You survived. It's the good and that's the hard thing is having the perspective or the mindset of like, I don't know how this is going to be good, but I know it's going to be good because I've dealt with situations that I thought were going to break me before. And every single time we made a little pivot, an adjustment. We re-looked at our financials and saw that there was some fat that needed to be trimmed. And then eventually the business goes, now you don't have the fat anymore. There's so many different little teeny scenarios to where now you're more profitable because the growth that you experienced because you trimmed the fat when you were going through the tough time. There's always something positive that comes through that friction that you'll experience as a business owner. And it's usually takes a decade plus or so of hitting those moments over and over and over, and then having, again, the history to look back on and be like, man, every time we went through that, something good happened. Yeah. So it's a lot easier when you're a seasoned business owner to have that perspective, but that is the perspective that you want to try to have at a low point. If you want to have hope of any sort of survival, you have to figure out why what you're going through, no matter how bad it appears to be, is a good thing.
Yeah. There's a chapter in the book. This didn't happen to me. This happened for me.
Yeah.
You got to figure out why this happened. This feels like a catastrophe. This feels like devastation. Why me? Why me? Exactly. Why you? Why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
What am I going to learn from this? How am I going to grow from this?
Yeah.
How am I going to be more
is a
fortified?
victim mindset, and a victim mindset's not going to help you get out of the problem. Saying that this is happening for me and that this is a positive thing is going to put the lens of opportunity on you. Now you're going to be looking around, what's the opportunity around me? Yeah. Rather than complaining about the burdens or becoming a victim. The victim mindset can't see the opportunities that an opportunist or a positive mindset has the ability to see. It's two totally different perspectives. They're all there. This guy could see the ghosts. You can't see the ghosts. He's just further along the path. It'd be like, hey, there's a ghost right there. Even though you don't see it, but
he's scary. But
you'll be fine. You'll be fine. He's not going to hurt you. You'll see the ghost one day too. So it's an elevated perspective that has happened through time and experience. But the idea is to try to collapse time and experience through other people's experiences and learn and remember when you're at that low to look for the opportunities, that this is a good thing. I can't tell you how many times that I've had to reframe, just like you're talking about. This is happening for me in a positive way. I might not know why yet, but it'll become apparent eventually. It'll all make sense one day.
I feel like these days there are so many more tools readily available, almost to an excess, right? The number of coaches and masterminds, this, that, and the other.
I agree.
If you find the right one and you're committed to it and early on, it can just catapult you, right? But being ready for it is a whole nother story. When we talk about the guy that's just glutton for punishment until he couldn't take any more punishment.
Yeah. Be careful what you take pride in. You take pride in all those things and you tolerate some things that you shouldn't be tolerating. Life has a funny way of, humbling you or putting enough pressure on you to the point where you're going to break and the discomfort's too much. And at that point, it's only at that point you become open-minded enough to try to view life or business from a perspective that's different from yours. Usually it's just pain that you can't take anymore, or you're just at the edge and your business is about to go down. Now it's like, now I'm ready for help, and again, as long as you're ready, you'll find the information. They say, finding is reserved for the seekers. Are you complaining or are you actually seeking?
Searching.
Are you searching? Yeah. Are you counting your blessings or are you counting your burdens? Which one is it? You count your burdens, you're going to have plenty to count. We all got them. There's nothing special about you. You're not being picked on by God, by the devil, none of that. You're just being a weak little bitch, and you're not doing what you know that you have the ability to do. You're not honoring your capabilities. You're not living in an exceptional manner, and you are the result of those choices. And if you don't like the result of those choices, there's another way to live. There's a better way to live.
Are you ready and willing to
and
accept
then at
them
that
and
point,
make those changes?
First, then start counting your blessings, and two, honor what you have the ability to do right now.
It's such different mindsets. Like you said, there's the complainer's mindset, and then there's the opportunist mindset. And people ask me all the time, like, how's it going, right? That standard question, like, fucking life is extraordinary. You know? And then, oh, well, that's good. And I'm like, dude, It is.
Yeah.
Do I not have a shit ton of stuff that I could start complaining about if I wanted to go down a list? But what's the point?
Yeah.
I got a million things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
So like other shit like that ain't that is a problem. Like it's part of life. Everybody's got it. Everybody's got some problems.
It might feel good to bitch in the moment, but is that really going to do anything?
Has it ever?
I don't think anybody's complained a problem away.
Yeah.
You know, my son, when we were out on my his 10-mile birthday run, I got 3 in before that. It's like mile 7 or something. He's like, oh, my legs, you know, they're hurting and all this stuff. And I said, look around, bro. And he's like confused. He's like looking around. He's like, for what? I said, nobody gives a fuck, bro. I said, that's your pain. Meaning that's your problem. I can't fix it for you. Nobody else can fix it for you. It's just something that you have to go through. It's where you're at right now, and it'll all be over soon. This is where we remove ourselves from our body and we plug into the mind. It's all mindset from here on out. You got 3 more. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Of course, dude.
So cool.
You know? So it's just like, I just didn't want him to like think that it's okay to just give his pain a voice in a manner in which is constructive. It's not constructive to give your pain a voice when it comes out in the form of a complaint. Or like, do your legs still hurt when you're bitching about your legs hurting? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
You can't complain it away. The only thing that you can do is go through it, and then eventually it subsides. That's it.
That's such a powerful mindset shift that you're giving them, and then, you know, be running 10 miles as a 10-year-old with your dad.
That's just a standard, bro.
Yeah.
Like to him, it's you know,
It's what
5
we do.
miles is easy.
It's what we do.
You know, a kid at school might say, I ran 2 miles or 3 miles. In his mind, he'll be like, well, why only 2 miles or 3 miles? You know, so I'm responsible for the environment that he's put in.
Yeah.
In other words, the standard that's set. What's hard, what's not hard. How he thinks, all of those things. And I take that very, very seriously. Now, I don't force him to do these birthday runs. It's his own idea because he's in the environment.
Yeah.
He came out with me when I turned 38 when he was 6 and said, Dad, I want to run 7 miles for my 7th birthday. And I was like, okay, we could do that. And then we just did it every year, 8, then 9, then 10.
Now it's the
Now
standard.
it's just, he told me on my run, he's like, you should run that 13 miles every day until my 13th birthday. And then we can run the last one together. And I'm like, fuck, bro. That's another 3 years on top of the 7 months that I'm already in. I'm like, I don't know if I'll be doing it that long, but I'll definitely be doing it by your 11th. You know, we'll see what ends up happening. I have a feeling I may extend it past that 600-day mark, but for now, that's a benchmark in my brain that I'll, you know.
Yeah, well, you got to hit this one. But, you know, as somebody told me, like, when you're always moving the goalposts, you still have to stop and look around and appreciate how far you've come, right? Guys like us, we're always moving the goalposts.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
That's not going to be your last challenge.
No.
You know,
No.
like it just.
I've already had the idea. I'm like, I wonder what this is preparing me for. There's something bigger on the other side.
So what's
of
the
that.
record for a full marathon? You know, that's what I thought about earlier today.
That's one. It's a year.
A year?
I think it's a year and a day. Some
Yeah.
guy got it for a year, and then some guy came back and
I
did
knew
it.
you
for
had to
like
look
a
it up
year.
already.
I
you
did.
know?
I told my wife about that one. She didn't really like that one. I'm like, yeah, it's 6 hours a day. You know, the 3's tough. You got to be careful about the things that you commit to when you're motivated. Sometimes you can bite off more than you can chew because you're in a moment of excitement. And then what ends up happening is it's a detriment to your success. It's a detriment to your mindset in some cases because you're utilizing an elevated state to project forward and be motivated when in reality, I think a lot of people say things that they shouldn't be saying at an elevated state because then they go down the path and the discomfort becomes so great that they quit. And now that's a record of your past to your brain that you are a quitter, that you don't follow through. You know, so the first time I came home, it was talking about a full marathon. You know, my wife's like, yeah, you're crazy. Like, how you can do that with your travel, with the kids, and with business and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I think I can figure it out, though. I think I could do it. But I was like coming off of a fucking great run.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought it was doable. And I'm not saying it's not doable. I mean, I wasn't prepared doing 10 miles a day to do 26 miles a day. That's a pretty big leap.
Huge.
And I thought I was prepared for the half marathon, and told myself I'm willing to endure any amount of discomfort, no matter what it brings. But then I was only utilizing the amount of discomfort that I've experienced based upon my current level of comprehension of what discomfort is. And then when you experience a level of discomfort that you've never experienced before, are you still going to honor the commitment? That's the thing. That's very, very difficult to do. So I'm glad I didn't sign up for the full because of what I've experienced on the half. I would have bit off more than I can chew, and my body probably would have broke. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible if I keep getting reps and inching closer to something like that. Yeah. But when I said it, I thought I was ready in a motivated state and thought it was doable, but based upon what my body went through, day 20 through 40 on the half, upping it by 31% increase on a day-to-day basis, it took its toll.
It broke something.
It took its toll. I was ready to quit a few different times. The whole process of, you saw the witness statements, the charging the cameras, making sure my Garmin watch is charged, making sure the data is dumped. You know, there's just a lot that goes into it. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. Now, I don't think about it twice. Yeah. It's a habit. When I walk in the door, I plug my stuff in, take my battery out of my GoPro, plug in this body cam, plug in this camera. You know, it's like, at what once was difficult, this whole process that was a pain in the ass that made me want to quit because I was enduring a high level of pain, right? Pain makes people forget why they start. And so I was just like, man, I can't be a bitch like I talked about this morning and quit because it's uncomfortable. I told people that I was willing to do this and I'd go through anything. And that's the point when I did pray for an injury and was like, dang, I wish I had a valid reason to stop right now because it just felt like too much, man.
New level of pain tolerance that your body wasn't used to. You know?
And now I'm used to it, right? You know, from day 20 through 40 to now day 240. I've gone through what I've had to go through. I've seen the darkness and I'm on the other side of it. But it's far too often when we're in pain, we project with the lens of pain, thinking that it's going to stay this way forever. No, do what you can with what you have right now. And what I had right then is, could I go get stretched? Could I go get massaged? Could I use my cold plunge? What can I do right now to try to stay in the fight? And I controlled what I had the ability to control and stayed in the fight, and the storm came and it went, you know, and I think that's true with just about anything. But it's just, I just see too many people, I want to build $1 billion company. I'm like, well, what about 1 million? Why'd you just pass up the 1 million? Why'd you pass the 10 million? Why'd you pass the 100 million? Why are you going for $1 billion? It's almost like you set such an improper expectation that you don't even expect to hit it, so you don't let yourself down when you don't hit it. I don't know. I mean, there's just weird to me that I'm like, even another person that I talked to one time, he's like, man, I built my business and it's just getting out of hand and it's more chaotic. I was more profitable when it's smaller. And I said, so in your case, maybe based upon your lifestyle and your goals, bigger isn't better. What do you even want? You want 200 grand a year? Is it 400 grand a year? Like, what are you trying to build? It's not always just more, bigger, more, bigger, you know? And in some cases, yeah, people are wired that way, and that's the fight that they want to fight. You know, that's the sword that they want to die on, so to speak, right? And that's okay if you're wired like that, and it's okay if you're not. But understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And the lifestyle that you want to live, and build something that has the ability to serve you, you know, not build something that you have to serve, you know, where it becomes your master.
Well, you said, you didn't say it in the same way, but you asked basically like 5 why questions, you know, 1 out of 1 million, 1 at this, 1 at that. Well, take the dollar figure out and ask yourself those 5 or 6 whys, right? Because everybody has a different pain tolerance, and everybody has, what I say is everybody has the capability of living their own version of an extraordinary life, right? What my version is not what your version is. What your version is not what his version is, right? So it's why. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to build $1 million? Why do you want to stop at 2 million? Or, why do you want to stop with 3 employees, or why do you want 30, right? Why? Figure that out. Yeah. Instead of just chasing this hypothetical dollar target that you really don't know where that's going to have to take you or where you're going to have to go to get that. You better know why you want to get that, right? Because it ain't the same for everybody. Yeah. And there's so many ways. People can have an amazing life without a big business. They don't need a huge business to have an amazing life, right? And then some people need this huge business to have their version of their amazing life, right? So why do you want that, right? Knowing that, like, if somebody can do that and actually ask that same why question 3, 4, 5 times to get to that deep version, then all of a sudden now you maybe have found something powerful enough to carry you through some of those tougher times, or you figured out that, you know what, I don't need all that. I don't value shit.
That. Yeah.
Like
I value my time more. Maybe I make $250 a year, but I have all the time freedom that I want. If that's what you value, then build that.
Exactly.
Then build that. I want to be in the process. I will just, it's not a $1 billion thing. It's, are we making progress? Are we doing everything that we possibly can to move the needle forward? Are we creating the right opportunities internally for people? Are we taking care of people? Those are the questions. Once your life is taken care of financially, you start asking different questions, because now everybody on the team's got to win. Yeah. And you got to do it in a manner which is respectable, with integrity, having character throughout that process of the build,
there's a lot of people that depend on business owners, right? We build things that support a lot of lives.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Bro, I had a guy in the inner circle. He had a great business, a candle business in Australia, or no, New Zealand, and he's like, "No, I'm getting out of it." I was like, "Why?" He's like, I'm gonna try to do this thing," and I'm like, "For what?" And he's like, I just hear things, where people like have this startup company, and then in like 3 to 5 years, they're doing like 100 million. And I'm like, yeah, that's what gets the news, bro.
Unicorns.
Yeah. They're highlighting the unicorns. Not like, that's not normal, bro. And I'm not saying that you can't do it. Yeah. Like, if that's what you want to do, go do it. But like, why do you want to build $100 million company? He's like, dude, I want a Lamborghini, is what he flat out told me. And I was like, bro, you can have a Lamborghini at probably like a $3 million company with your margins. Why does it have to be 100? You know what I mean? It's like the people. Anyway, he sold all of his products, all his shit, went in on this whole other business because it was going to be the $100 million business. He already squashed that, went back to the candle business.
Growing pains, man.
Because he realized what he had, it wasn't really that bad. It was making good money. He had a whole stockpile full of inventory, hundreds of thousands of dollars, liquidated all that to get some money to go do this thing, and realized, like, man, I miss my. It's like we always want what we don't have. And it's like, how do you have a level of dissatisfaction where you always want to improve, but a level of gratitude that makes you happy about where you are? It's that balancing act that you've got to figure it out. I want my mind to see the beauty in the world. And if you're not training it, it's not going to happen by default. No. The default method of this world is to make you feel less than, is to make you feel ungrateful. Because if you feel less than and ungrateful, you're not going to put forth the effort to become all you could become, because what's the point? It's just, it's just this environment, right? So if you want growth, or you want to win, you've got to sometimes create your own environments, your own little reminders. Here, and like, it takes real work to see life on the right side of the perspective, on the right side of the coin. It doesn't just happen. Success doesn't happen. The right perspective doesn't happen. The right body doesn't happen. The right relationship. These things don't just happen. It's requiring you to create parameters and boundaries and systems or processes or the reminders that are necessary for you to stay in a certain state that's going to be the most productive, right? I'm sure you found that for yourself. It's like, dude, you've got your garage, your solitude, this is what I do every morning. I walk out into the garage, jam my music, I grunt, I groan, I lift, I send out a message, like that's an environment in which you created for a specific result, The reminders is a mini environment that you created to stop and remind you of what you need to do for you to have the life that you want to have, because you have to earn that perspective. It won't happen by default. You're not going to have a homeless guy wake up one day and be like, dude, I'm just so grateful this bridge is so awesome. The cars and the people drive by and call me a bum. It's just so incredible. It's just not going to happen unless it's top of mind.
I do love a happy homeless person.
I'm a sucker for handing money out, dude. I really am. Like most people are like, they can get a job, then blah, blah, blah. Like you're only contributing to them staying homeless by giving to them. Like it's not for them.
Yeah.
It's for me because I feel bad. And so it's like, I'm actually not doing something positive for society. They might be right, but I'm doing something positive for me because it feels right to me. So it might be hurting them, but it feels like to me that I'm doing the right thing. And I've handed people, here's $20 or whatever. God bless you. I say he already did.
That's it.
He already has. Or else I wouldn't have $20 to give you right now.
I had that conversation with my wife, and she seen me. I did it, and then she had a good perspective. And then we had the same conversation.
Yeah.
How many people say, "Oh, well, they're just gonna go blow it on drugs,
alcohol, or whatever"?
My wife said, "That's what they need.
Yeah,
that's their needs."
Oh, bro,
that's their needs.
This was probably like 10 years ago. I went through the McDonald's drive-thru, got an egg McMuffin, and I saw a homeless guy when I was pulling it, and so I got 2 extra egg McMuffins, and then tried to hand him a $10 bill plus the food. He just says, "All I want is the food."
Wow.
The
story might have went the other way.
No. He's like, dude, I don't want your money. I'll take the food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, respect.
That's it.
I can respect that. There was one time that I got pretty frustrated though. I handed somebody $20 on a corner. I saw them there the very next day or like the following week with their same child on there doing the same ass shit, one corner up, acting like they need gas money and all shit. I'm like, bro, I gave you 20 and I watched in my rearview mirror other people hand you money. Yeah. It's a fucking hustle.
It's the hustle.
So I pull over, I gave him an earful. You piece of shit. I gave you, you fucking don't need, whatever. So I got into it with him.
Still probably a different version of yourself too.
You
know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I did what I thought was right in the moment, and then I felt like I got.
His uncle might have been teaching him that hustle since the beginning of time.
Maybe he don't know no different, but at the same time, it's like I think we all are born with intuition.
There's a bullshit detector,
right and wrong. You know what I mean? Like he knows he's doing some bullshit. Could he do better? Yeah. Does he want to? No. It's whatever.
I grew up in New Orleans, and I work on Bourbon Street a lot. I do all of the clubs and all, and the hustle is I know where you got your shoes from. I know where you got your shoes, and the people who don't know any better, they say, "Oh yeah, where? On your feet," and then they're trying to get some money, right? It's just the oldest Bourbon Street hustle in the world, right?
Dumb,
and it's like, they're opportunistic hustlers, right? They're just inbred in that, and it's a hustle, right? And that's what they're doing, and you can be mad about it all you want, but it's like, this is how they were raised, and somebody taught them this hustle, and this is, the environment they were grew in. So it's like you got to start changing perspective. Same thing we said earlier. It's like the levels that we push ourselves to. Okay, yeah, we may be tough or motivated individuals to do this, right? But we were blessed with something that gave us these opportunities. No matter, even though we could waste them, right? We choose to exercise them and try to go for the best of our abilities, right? But we could sit there and waste them. But we were still blessed with something different that gives us these abilities, Like it could have been a left turn. You could have never come out of, the things that you came out of to turn into this very easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was something that helped in your brain to change that. right?
Well, I think everybody feels like that they're supposed to be doing something great with their life. It's just they don't know how to go about it. And they think that something that's great with their life is all monetary financial gain. So then they get so lost in the money game that they forget about developing themselves. They're always looking outside of them to make an exchange rather than doing work that has no visible really exchange immediately, but
Invisible and intangibles.
Yes, that 5 years down the road, it's like, oh, this is why I was doing that.
Look at what you become because of.
Yeah, exactly.
Not I started reading and I earned $1 million.
Yeah.
No, I read hundreds of books, and finally that third book, I had a windfall because of that tip I read 4 years ago.
Yeah, something strikes up at the right time, the right moment, the right problem, and you're like, dude, boom, that information that's stored pops out at the perfect time of like, dude.
Yeah,
that's
a beautiful
it's like,
thing.
I'm glad I stored that, right? Or read that, or took the time to put myself in that type of an environment. I just think that the brain is so easily manipulated, or people are easily manipulated by the brain. And I think that that's why it's so important to be very cautious about what you're putting into it, the environment in which you're creating for yourself. Like, I believe that you can absolutely almost like hypnotize yourself into believing in yourself when you have no visible proof to even believe in yourself, just through the information that you're putting into your mind on repeat over and over and over. When I wanted to start running and trying to run, all I did is, my whole history was David Goggins videos. That was it. That's all I wanted to see, because I didn't care about what anybody else's mindset was. I wanted to understand his mindset, because I wanted to absorb that mindset, because I knew I would have to have a mindset like that in order to be able to do what I believed was possible for me, but didn't make sense on how I was going to go about it yet. And so there were certain things that I would listen to on repeat over and over and over and over and over and over and over, because they were such potent and beautiful words of positive affirmation, of possibilities, that it's like, if I put that on repeat over and over and over into my brain's going to be like, damn, that's important information. I keep hearing it over and over. I better store it. And then I better become it.
You said it. The same exact thing happened when I started my transformation. Like, I can remember to this day, my physical transformation came when I moved into my new house and I built a gym in my garage, right? And I put mirrors up there, and I was 40 pounds overweight and fat. And I could look in that mirror and I could see the guy that I knew I could become. I saw that guy. And every time I looked in the mirror, even though I still seen the fat dude in front of that mirror, there's
an athlete.
I seen the other guy. I seen him, right? And throughout that whole time, I would consistently listen to either affirmations or these motivational compilations, right? And like you said,
rewiring your
repeat.
mind. Yeah.
And you know you're capable of, but you don't yet believe it all the way, right? So you have to let somebody else keep telling it to you over and over until it becomes to where I don't need it no more. Like, I know I'm that. I can say all of that stuff with confidence to myself.
Now that's your mindset.
Right.
That's just the way that you think now, because you put it in so frequently. It's like listening to a fucking pop hit on a radio and you could start singing it out of nowhere when you can't tell me the words outside of it being on.
But you can sing it back.
You can sing it back and forwards, right? Because it's been on the radio on repeat because it's a hit. So therefore your brain says, I keep hearing this same melody over and over and over. This must be important. I probably should start retaining this if it's on repeat that frequently. Next thing you know, you're singing fucking in-sync songs as you're going down the highway when you talk shit with your bros about the boy bands, but here you are with the wind in your hair singing bye, 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 or whatever, right? Like,
I got three girls, bro. I'm jamming out Taylor Swift as I'm riding down, and I'm the guy that's been listening to hardcore rap for 20 years,
or the cartoon that the movie that your kid watches on repeat over and over and over, it's like you're driving in the car, you're hearing it. Like you could see everything that's happening just by hearing the words. You can almost recite the words. None of that has any importance, but your brain thinks it's important. It's storing it because it's heard it so frequently over and over. And so it's like people don't understand really the morphosis, the thing that's happening and who you're becoming when you do that, because you're trying to measure it in such a short period of time. When in reality, if you do that over an extended period of time, you become the actual message. You start living it out as the example rather than having to say it, because you just show it. You know, it's different, man.
You become.
You stop. I'm not saying you stop learning, but you don't have to learn that as much anymore. You still do it so that you can keep your sword sharp, right? Because you know it's important to always have that good information in, but at the end of the day, man, it's like I don't listen to music or listen to anything anymore on my runs. Like even today, I don't have headphones in. I don't do any of that. I want a direct meeting with me.
Yeah.
I want to experience the pain. I want to experience the discomfort head on. I don't want a distraction of my favorite song coming on where I'm more focused on that than what it is that I'm going through. You know, and so I've minimized that, except for when I drive to the gym and when I drive home. That's my sacred time of information, where I've got 45 minutes on the way in to program and prime my mind for what I'm trying to do, and then on the way home, priming my mind. I believe when I wake up and it's 5 a.m. and I'm in my truck by like 6:45 to get to the gym by 6:30 or whatever, I'm still somewhat in that sleep state, not fully woken up. And so I think that that's a very important time to put that type of information into your mind, where your mind's far more receptive of it, because your pituitary gland that overthinks everything hasn't fully woken up to the world. And so I think it seeps deeper into your subconscious in those early waking hours where you're not all the way with it yet. Deeper programming. So I use those two spaces of time to just listen to a bunch of the greats, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, what's homeboy's name? The one-armed dude.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
The fuck is his name?
I've got all his albums. I listen to
Inky
Johnson.
Yeah,
Inky Johnson.
All that stuff.
Yeah,
So it's like, it's just good information. If it's good information and it seems to be working,
so
fuck with it.
My trainer still to this day, we train remotely. Jay Ferrugi at Renegade Fitness. He's definitely a pivotal part of my transformation. I locked on with him right when I was ready to make that change.
Yeah.
And one of the first things he says, you got to create a daily motivational playlist, right? Of those songs that will get you in that right mindset, to get you in that focus state, whatever it is for you, right? And since then, I continue. I've got 20 Spotify playlists for every mood I'm in, right? I listen to a lot of music when I'm in my free time, and but that motivational playlist is just continually grown, right? And that's what I listen to when I go work out, and that's also what gives me usually the motivation for what I end up speaking in my daily motivational message that I put out. Like some song, and these songs I've been listening to, I'm always adding. I always like to keep it fresh, but these songs I've been listening to for 3-4 years now. And I can listen to that same song 10 times and it doesn't tell me anything.
And then you get a certain
but that
spot.
Day, it downloads something that says, this is what you're going to speak on, right? And it always comes to me. I never pre-plan it. I don't know what song is going to be. I could have listened to that song yesterday and it didn't tell me shit.
Nothing,
today, it's like, all right, you got a message for that, right? And but that's all, and it's, so that's putting, and it's all positive shit. Like everything in there is something positive, something motivational, something that is it. And then I just was fucking around with him the other day, and he's a hardcore New York hip hop guy. And I'm like, he likes Nims and he likes all this stuff. And I'm like, your shit's like, fuck your life, blah, 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 blah. And my shit's like, motivate your life, go this, because it just, I love that positivity that it's putting in. Like it's nothing but positive energy coming in. I tell people, if your whole, I tell people change your algorithm, right? Your whole feed, they're scrolling. It's bullshit and it's negativity and it's this and it's that. Like my algorithm doesn't say that. My algorithm's all business, focus, mindset, champions,
exercise,
this, right?
athlete,
you know, like, so
yeah.
my feed is normally all usually good information, maybe a laugh here or there, right?
Inspiration,
you know? But it's stuff that makes me feel good, you know, or makes me smarter or makes this. So that's the algorithm that I put out there, right? And it's how many people need to go out there and change their algorithm because they're surrounded by negativity. The people they're around, the things they're watching, the things they do, the habits, you know.
Yeah, they can complain about the algorithm, but you're the one that created it.
It's
by what you click.
It's following what
you gave it the data by clicking and watching and this. They think that that's what you want. So by default, you're going to get more of it, and you're going to get caught in this repetitive cycle of the same old shit. Again, changing your algorithm would require you to actually just make changes in general, right?
Change your algorithm, change your surroundings, change your successful surroundings, right? Change your reading habits, change your eating habits, change your physical habits, change the people you hang around with, the people you work with. You know, you change all of these things and you start changing your algorithm, not just, you know, what's going on your social media platform. No, your life is damn near algorithm.
There's an algorithm to your life.
Exactly.
The question is does it serve you? You know, are you living your life in a manner in which you're going to see a negative algorithm? Or are you living your life in a manner that's creating a positive algorithm that gives you those gentle reminders to have gratitude, those reminders to kick ass at that workout, the reminders of what's possible for you if you keep going down that path? We have to have hope to keep showing up. There's got to be something better. And if once you feel like that there's no way it can get better and you lose all hope, what's the point?
What are you creating? What are you cultivating?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly. So,
but it goes back to having that gratitude for this and now. Like I'm not satisfied. I said something the other day.
But you say you're not satisfied, so you keep showing up at a certain level, right? But I think that is a form of showing gratitude, is honoring what you're capable of. How can somebody show gratitude if they're not even doing anything with what they currently have available to them, their current capacity? The only way to show gratitude for your body is not to sit there and say, I'm so thankful for my body. You move the motherfucker because that's what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
How do you show gratitude for the opportunities that you have in front of you? By maximizing it to the fullest, by pouring everything that you possibly can into it, giving it your all. That is a form, the highest form of gratitude that anybody could show an opportunity that they have in front of them. Otherwise, you're ungrateful because you're not even exercising what you have the ability to do. That is a form of not having gratitude, taking things for granted, in other words.
I like how you said the highest form of it, right? Because, you know, there can be plenty of people that
Basic
don't
forms
exercise
of
those, and they can still have gratitude for their life, right? But they're not exercising those highest values. They're not even scratching the surface of the potential they're capable.
But you can say you're grateful for your body all you want, but if you feel like shit in it and you're really not, it don't matter. Are your actions backing up? And
compared to who? Right?
Yeah, compared to who? You know? So it's just that same concept. Gratitude shows up more so in action than just words, right? So if you don't know where to start, you can start by, you know, showing up a little bit different and having I'm really grateful for my wife. I probably should bring her flowers. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just saying I'm grateful for my wife, or I'm grateful for my employees, or I'm grateful for, it's like, cool, but if you're not actually showing it,
how grateful
your brain basically just says you're full of shit, dude. You don't really have gratitude. You haven't proven it to me.
Yeah.
You haven't followed it up with anything. You're not changing anything. You're trying to hack the system and go about it the easy way, just hurrying and saying something just to check it off the list rather than really trying to reprogram yourself.
I like that.
You know? So there's a difference, man.
How are you showing it? How are you proving it? How are you showing it to others?
You know? That's it. You know? Otherwise, your brain knows you're full of shit, and no matter what you say, it's not going to really get to the point of why you're trying to say it. You're doing it to enhance your life so that you could change your perspective, so that you can live a better life. But if you're not really executing on it, and it's just, Dude, I can tell you I'm going to run 200 miles tomorrow. That's just words. If I wake up tomorrow and don't do it,
full of shit.
Full of shit, bro. That's a fucking lie. I lied to you. Words are meaningless unless somebody shows up behind it with some action that is in alignment with the words that they did speak. Now all of a sudden their words start to increase in meaning. David Goggins says, go get it. Stay hard. A million other people can say that online too. Why is it so meaningful from him?
He's proven it. Because
he's showing up in a certain manner in which you know his words have meaning. Yeah. So it's how you show up that determines what your words mean. And two, if you even have gratitude, when you're trying to play the gratitude game, if you're not showing up to your highest potential, you don't have gratitude for what you currently have in front of you, the opportunities, the day, the things that you've been blessed with. The only way to show that is by going through pain and extracting it, doing something out of the ordinary, maybe extraordinary, right? That's how you're going to show it. It's my mantra. It seems to work for me. You know, I'm not saying.
I say step it up to the next level, right? You could be showing gratitude at your level. What is the next level? Who is the next level for you? Like the person that you need to grow into, it's got another level of that, right? You could very well have gratitude for a fraction of your potential, but can you elevate that and take it to another level?
Everybody knows what they need to grow into. It's whether or not you honor the calling. Somebody can look at themselves and say, I need to drop 50 pounds. They know that.
Yeah.
Are you going to honor that? And you're going to follow through and do something about it? Everybody knows when they need to let that person go, or they need to make the hire, or they need to change the way that they spend their money. Everybody knows. Knowing is not enough.
The pain point.
It's not enough.
Are you committed to go through the pain?
Are you willing to make the proper exchange? Knowing is not enough. Words are meaningless. Action is everything. And if you're not taking massive action, you probably won't ever experience a massive result or massive shifts, massive mindset, massive experience of being able to live in a body that actually feels good. You know, I sit there and be like, dude, I don't understand how people can be blessed with one body and one mind and they don't even see what they're capable of. Like you got one shot in this thing. Like take that motherfucker for a ride, bro, and see what you really truly can do. That to me, that is living. And that's living to the highest degree. Whether your net worth's $1 million, 100 million, $1 billion, to me, success isn't $100 billion, but they're fat and out of shape. That's not success. They've, destroyed every relationship. Like that's not success.
Yeah.
Do you feel good in your body and mind? Are you honoring what you're capable of? Do you have gratitude for the opportunities that you've been granted right in front of you? And if you are, how are you showing that gratitude? Not speaking it, but actually backing it up. To me, that's where fucking yardage is made. That's where winning happens. It's just it's hard. It's hard.
There's many of us out there, but you still put that level of mindset is, you have to say at least the top 10%. Most would say that's the top 1%, right? And it's mindset. It doesn't have nothing to do with status. Right?
Nothing.
Because success is not status. Success is not money. Success is building the best version of yourself, living on your terms, doing what you love to do, doing how you love to do it, and it being good for all things around you in your life, right? That's success.
They say success is designing a life and actually figuring out how to pull it off. So if you design it and you figure out a way to pull off that design, by default, you're a success.
I'm enjoying success. I love it.
So you've designed it, you're living it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Why some result? Why some like you're living it? This is it. These are your good old days. When you're 60 or 70, these are the days. Man, I flew out to Utah. We ran a half marathon. We chopped it up on a pot. Like these are the good old days. We're currently experiencing them. We're living them out in real time, and we are failing to appreciate them while they're happening. Why does a 20-year gap have to happen before we appreciate what we're currently experiencing? You can look back at high school. Man, that was a good time. I appreciate but in high school, you couldn't wait to get out of high school.
Yeah.
Didn't appreciate it while you had it. And so the real trick is appreciating what you have, why you have it, and understanding that you are living in the best time of your life. You have the most capabilities right now. Tomorrow, your capabilities will dwindle a little bit more, a little bit more. You're getting older. You're getting weaker. It's going to only be harder 5 years, 10 years, 50 to course correct. If you're not that far off, now is the time. Yeah. You'll never be more capable than you are today. Not saying that you can't make a change down the road. You have the ability and the capabilities of doing that at any given time. But there's no better time today to maximize what you have the ability to do and extract your full potential, whatever that looks like for you. And it's going to be the most miserable process that you'll ever go through because you're making a massive exchange without the result, and you're going to question everything as you're going down that path. It's very rare that few people will continue to honor that commitment and go down that path without some sort of exchange. Then eventually you do it long enough and realize it's the path that is the reward. The end is just the beginning of something else. It's the end of maybe that journey, the end of my half marathons or the end of my 2-a-days for 3 years. But the end of my 2-a-days for 3 years, that wasn't the end. It was the beginning of my half marathon journey.
The next step.
It's just, you know what I mean? So there's always a beginning when there's an end. So that just by default means it's just the entire journey. That's what's special. And are you truly making it special with how you're showing up? Because it can get more and more special if you show up at a high level. It continues to just become more of a spiritual experience and more of a divine process of like, I'm cool with it. Yeah, it fucking sucks, but for some reason I'm okay with that. This is the gold. This is why everybody wants to quit, but this is exactly why I value it. Because now I'm brushing up against the threshold of what my current capabilities are, which means if I go past this, I'm creating a new threshold of what's possible for me. And it's just this ever growing, ever evolving, beautiful. As long as you're watering it, the plant will keep growing, bro.
One of the chapters in the book is God's divine time. And we've touched on it. And so many times in my life, you can look at a business that maybe either looks like they blew up overnight or they really did, right? And then sometimes you question, like, well, why didn't I choose that business? Or that business seems more lucrative than the business that I chose. And
going from the candle business to this other business, this dog walking business, I don't know what it was. They were chasing that, right?
But I believe that if you are walking in the right path and walking in the right step and serving yourself, that everything's going to happen in God's divine time. Everything's going to happen at that right time. We were talking about reading books earlier. When I got on that path of self-development again, the books that hit me all hit me at God's divine time. They hit me at a perfect time. Like each and every one of them. Like I could grab some of those right now and it'd be like worthless for me to read. You know, or I could have grabbed those a year before or 2 years before and I wouldn't have read it, right? But they happen at God's divine time. And I think everything kind of happens that way if you're working.
If you really work, it's not like God's time if you're not doing anything and you're just going to sit around and wait for something to happen.
Yeah. I thought.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to rich. Yeah, no. It goes back to findings reserved for the seekers. And so when you were ready to seek new information and a change, you picked up a book and you found the right books at the right time. Yeah. You found it because you were seeking. That takes action. You took the action, and then the information was there. It's been there the whole time. It's just you didn't have the right perspective and you ddidn't take the right action, but it was there waiting for you. Now all of a sudden you're ready. Yeah. The teacher then appeared.
Yeah,
you know, it's all these cliche shit that's so cliche in the success space. They're cliche for a reason. They have far more meaning, you know, 10, 15, 20 years into your journey and through many ups and downs and, you know, thoughts of wanting to quit and then thinking you're the absolute shit, that you're untouchable. You know, I make and you start bragging about what you make, you know, egotistical shit, you know, and it's just, I don't know, man. Time is a beautiful thing as long as you utilize it beautifully. You know, it really, really does take you to the most incredible places and you meet incredible people and have incredible experiences. But it's just, you're swimming up against the current the whole time, and it can be exhausting, but it'll lead you to some cool places. If people want to find your book, Make It Extraordinary, where would they go?
You just go to Amazon, man. It's on Amazon. Make It Extraordinary, 27 life-changing lessons to help you elevate beyond the ordinary. Very simple, easy read. Wrote it up from the week of my 40th birthday. I took the 27 most life-changing lessons I had in my life that actually made a change. You know, we learn many lessons in life, but these lessons were simple lessons that just changed my life, put me on a different perspective. It's very relatable in many states because I've got childhood, mid years, and elevated years of lessons in there, from, you know, the simplest lessons of kindness and things you learn as a kid to the most sophisticated and expensive business lessons that I learned as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, to find them wherever they're at is the beautiful thing. Whether it's year 1, year 20, you know, you haven't started a business yet. It's a thought that you've pondered, but haven't done it. You know, that's the beautiful thing about certain books, is they'll meet you where you currently are, and you'll be able to extract something from it based upon where you are. You read that same book 2 years, you're at a different spot. Maybe what you read before don't hit like it did, but there's a different spot that you passed up that didn't make much sense to you, but now you're at an elevated perspective. Now this is I've read a book multiple times over and over, and like, I'm like, man, why didn't I highlight that last time? That's just fire, you know. But I wasn't in the mindset that I'm in now when I read it a year ago, you know.
Same
and so
river,
it finds you, you know.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you battled those rapids first time. You was all sporadic. You just trying to survive, right?
Yeah.
You go down that same set of rapids 2, 10, 20 times. All of a sudden now you're doing it like it's a cakewalk.
It's normal.
You know? Yeah.
The
everybody, your boat's freaking out.
Yeah,
You're like just fucking another day on the river.
The turbulence.
You know?
So you know, you're like, oh, this is normal. Turbulence is normal. This is where I'm comfortable. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to, you know. And so, anywho, man, it was awesome to have you come out and run with me. Thank you for flying out and sharing some time with me this morning, and being on the podcast.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
For giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, you gave me the opportunity to come run with you on your journey, on your world record journey.
You're a part of it, bro. You're a part of it.
I feel
you're going to be part of history.
A lot of gratitude for that.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You're an open person that allowed me to do that. We spoke a couple times, but you don't know me like that, right? And that means a lot to me, and I want to tell you I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Very welcome. Anybody that's willing to say yes to something like that, I know they're cut from the same cloth, and I'd like to share some discomfort with that type of a person. And then we'll pop out the other side and be grateful that we did, you know, and there I am at the very end of it saying, Jacob's a cool dude. I'm glad he came out and did that. You know, I have people come out all the time, but they don't come get it in. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a rare breed that says, yeah, before a podcast, I'll wake up super early and run a half marathon with you on a Friday morning, you know? So I respect you and I appreciate you for coming out and doing that with me. It means a lot to me as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. Make sure that you follow Jacob on his Instagram account. I believe it's _extraordinary.
That's it.
Is that right?
_extraordinary.
Okay.
Extraordinary.
Go check him out. Go follow him. He gets hyped up in the gym, gets his pump on, gets his download from God, gives it to you guys on his it's not Monday morning. It's every morning.
Pretty much every morning.
Every morning
I have
like a morning motivation.
motivational.
So, yeah.
You know, and then I got some other. Plenty of other stuff these days.
Cool.
You know, but
Cool.
That's my morning motivation.
Yeah, go check them out. Go show them some RBO love. Other than that, guys, keep kicking ass, and we'll see you guys next week.